You know, you should never argue with someone whose TV is bigger than their bookshelf. It's a law of survival. Because those are the same people who mistake noise for wisdom and replace meaning with spectacle. And what do they do with spectacle? They sell it back to you as innovation, which is, coincidentally, the entire personality of Yog-Sothoth. Let me state, for the record and the future inquest into divine malpractice, that I never volunteered to drive a U-Haul full of ghosts through the 9 realms. I was, as usual, voluntold. Yog-Sothoth, the middle management flavored tumor in the HR department, appeared in my doorway humming Monster Mash and announced,
"Yeah, hey champ. So corporate thinks you should help out with the Valkyrie modernization initiative."
Yog's voice dragged on like a meeting that had already been rescheduled 3 times, which in Eldritch dialect translates to, he had convened a ballroom of himself across every possible timeline, and, shockingly, achieved a unanimous vote. That's his trick, by the way. Yog-Sothoth isn't just the HR department, he's time itself. When he says,
"Corporate thinks."
what he really means is,
I asked me, and all of me agreed.
and so, by the eternal consensus of Yog-Sothoth Incorporated, I was now responsible for driving a U-Haul full of corpses, while Gen Z Valkyries experimented with turning Valhalla into a livestream pilot program. I told him the library already had enough horror, late fees, screaming scrolls, interns who confuse necromancy with networking. But Yol just grinned with all his eyes and said,
Okay, but this quarter is really about connecting with the future.
He leaned into future like it was carved on a PowerPoint slide.
We've done fear, we've done awe, we even piloted that short-lived Dread initiative. And frankly, champ, the numbers just weren't trending. Mortals aren't engaging with raw terror anymore, not like they used to. These days, it's all about relatability. A kind of haunting, but approachable. And that's where our new talent comes in.
I made the mistake of asking, what talent?
The Valkyries of Gen Z.
Yog said, positively beaming.
They're not just choosers of the slain anymore. They're Twitch streamers breathing new life in an antiquated system. Now they're hauling the dead to the afterlife in 4K. Fresh, agile, big energy. They don't deliver souls, they curate experiences, all in a U-Haul. Accessibility, authenticity, optics, and all the big A words. Think of the afterlife less like a meat hall, more like a pop-up gallery with swords. That's what we're offering now. Relatable glory on demand.
Naturally, I stared at him as though he'd just suggested we replace the Dewey Decimal System with a ring light and a vision board. Yog settled into his infinite swivel chair, voice dribbling out like the world's most passive-aggressive water leak.
Okay, so here's the deal, champ. The old Valkyries, straight logistics. Scoop a guy by the armpits, plop him down in Valhalla, and then clock out until someone else's saga comes to the bitter end. Zero interaction. That was fine in, the Viking Age. But in the attention economy, that's basically a rounding error. No engagement, no relatability, very low performing content funnel.
I reminded him, sharply, that they weren't content funnels. They were the deliverers of souls. I pressed harder. You're telling me warriors spend their final moments hoping their death has replay value? And if the metrics flop, what then? Yog swiveled his many eyes like an eldritch god, preparing a slide deck.
Okay, so, yeah. Sometimes Freya lets one of her cats decide. Real cutting-edge stuff. It's her new pilot program where she takes more vacation time after her vacation time and let domesticated cats make verdicts. Valkyrie simply bring the soul up, set them down, and if the cat curls around their leg, congrats Bjorn. Welcome to Valhalla. If it hisses, straight to Helheim. Instant decision. No appeals.
I stared at him. So the eternal fate of warriors now depends on feline whim. He nodded, smug as a manager unveiling beanbag chairs.
Exactly. People trust cats. It's organic, very authentic. Honestly, it outperforms the old system 3-1. Souls are way more likely to accept their outcome if it comes from a cat. No complaints, no backlash. Vibes-based governance.
I said nothing for a long time, because I was trying to decide whether he was lying outright, or worse, telling the truth. He leaned forward, all hushed reverence, as if explaining scripture.
Look, I get it, Bard. Honor and shame, those used to drive loyalty, but honor doesn't trend. Shame doesn't get replayed. Viral does. Clip value, share rate. If your death can't be memed, you might as well have died in a cave. The Valkyries that matter now are the ones who can cut together a clean highlight reel with lo-fi beats and vertical framing.
I asked him if destiny was now being spun by ring lights.
Exactly. You're catching on. It's not about fate, it's about framing. Whoever frames the afterlife first wins. Doesn't matter if the footage is accurate, doesn't matter if it's edited within an inch of its life. The first clip to circulate sets the whole narrative. Odin can give speeches about valor all day, but if a Valkyrie posts a sarcastic stitch of him fumbling a goblet, that's the headline. That is what the Einar believe. Truth doesn't scale, champ, but followers do.
He droned on, a cosmic manager explaining the death of truth, like it was a performance review.
So yeah, morality, honor, dignity, those are legacy metrics. Now it's all about vibes. You don't earn loyalty, you manufacture it with clapbacks. A clever dunk thread does more for Valhalla's brand than 3 actual victories. People don't worship gods anymore, they subscribe to personalities. And Gen Z Valkyries, oh, they get it. They don't lift corpses, they lift engagement.
I told him this sounded less like escorting warriors and more like a livestream court trial.
Exactly. Trials of combat, trials of law, too slow, trials of public opinion, instant. A Valkyrie with 10,000 followers can tilt have a pantheon just by posting a one-listener with the right emoji. You think justice matters? No, it's all about momentum. Who claps back fastest, who stitches hardest. Whoever wins the timeline wins the afterlife.
He smiled that dead-eyed HR smile. The one that meant he thought he'd just enlightened me.
So yeah, champ, that's why Gen Z is the future. They don't fight for truth. They don't fight for morality. They fight for the algorithm. And the feed never dies. It scales better too. Old model, 1 warrior at a time. New model, thousands of deaths per hour just by going live. That's scalability.
Oh yes, the sagas will sing of this. Beowulf, Ragnar, all of them, judged by an entire comment section. Yo grinned with all his eyes.
You get it! Odin gets glory metrics, Freya gets optics, Valkyries get followers, and you, champ, you get to ride shotgun with one of our best content creators. You'll learn from the youth, keep you current.
Current, I hissed, all tentacles flaring like eldritch nostrils. Yog, I am older than the concept of currency. The last thing I need is a Valkyrie influencer teaching me how to collab with their Twitch stream.
Okay, I hear you, but worst case scenario?
he said cheerfully, feigning interest in my plight.
We synergize you into Q4 and call it a win.
And then, as if the truck wasn't indignant enough, he added the true horror.
Also, champ, while you're out there, snag a few of the new Valkyries for us. Think of it as campus recruiting, but for Death Maidens. We're light on interns for the Halloween committee, and honestly, the library could use a little Gen Z flavor of horror, neon TikTok halos on the chandeliers, resume formatted as memes, maybe a cursed selfie corner where warriors can unbox their own funerals. Oh, and don't forget hydration. Slap a skull sticker on a Stanley Cup and call it Goblet Core. Instant buy-in.
Which is when he shoved her forward, my so-called partner in crime for this joint exercise. She stumbled into the light with all the swagger of a minor celebrity entering their own live stream. Braids swayed, armor gleamed in uneven patches, and that crystal ball phone was already raised at the perfect angle. She didn't even acknowledge me as a person, let alone an elder god. To her, I was a background element, a prop in the shot. That's when I noticed it. Her helmet bore only one wing, jutting out from the left side like a lopsided halo. The other side was bare metal, flat and unadorned, as though the forge had simply given up halfway through the design. At first I assumed it was damage, some unlucky blow in a skirmish, or perhaps sloppy blacksmithing from whatever Etsy knockoff workshop Asgard was using to cut costs. I cleared my throat, trying to sound casual. Did you, sir, lose something? She glanced at me, puzzled for half a beat, before her face lit with recognition.
Oh, you mean the wing? No, that's on purpose.
On purpose?
Yeah, one-wing helmets are the look now. Everyone's doing them.
She said it with a grin so untroubled it could have powered a solar farm.
Full symmetry just feels fake. People don't connect with fake.
I stared at her, not at the phone, not at her cheer, but at the blunt certainty in her tone. So you're telling me you've made your helmet less protective? Because it's more, authentic? She nodded enthusiastically.
Exactly. If it looks too polished, people scroll right past. But if it looks a little raw, a little unfinished, engagement goes through the roof. It's like, if you're not showing the crack, no one believes you're real.
I turned slightly toward the invisible audience, because surely someone, somewhere, could see the madness unraveling. Centuries of craftsmanship reduced to vibes. But she was already turning the crystal ball back to her face, voice climbing into her performative sing-song.
Anyway, voidlings, make sure to smash that rune and drop a skull emoji for the collab. Don't forget, one wing is the flex. Trust the scuff. Don't trust the polish.
And I realized, with the quiet dread reserved for bureaucratic inevitabilities, that she wasn't joking. None of them were joking. Even armor had become part of the theater of relatability. The missing wing wasn't a flaw. It was the feature.
All right, voidlings, welcome back to Valhalla Vibes. We are literally doing a death collab today. Yup, that's Cthulhu in the driver's seat. The vibe, picking up the fallen and deciding their fate. Freya's cats might be available today unless they're asleep again. Smash that rune. Drop a skull emoji. Let's trick the algorithm before it ghosts me again.
I hadn't even touched the keys to the U-Haul, and already I was branded social media content. Yogg clapped me on the shoulder, mentioned something about circle back after you're done with all the realms, and dissolved into his own calendar invite. Which is how I found myself on the road, behind the wheel of a metaphysical moving van, my new Valkyrie partner streaming every second of it. She pivoted back to her feed, lowering her voice into that faux conspiratorial register streamers use when they want to sound relatable.
Okay, chat, should I let these guys into Valhalla or do we, send them to Helheim as a prank? Drop a galaxy for Mead Hall upgrade. Roses if you think they're mid-tier warriors.
The souls groaned. One Viking with a dented helmet actually raised his hand. I fought with honor, he insisted. She leaned the crystal ball closer to his face.
Yeah, babe, but did you trend with honor? Your death scream didn't even loop cleanly. Chat says it's giving background NPC energy.
Another warrior roared in protest. I was cleaved in half on the battlefield. She nodded sympathetically, then turned back to the stream.
Okay, chat, he says cleaved in half, but receipts? Anyone got footage? No? Hard pass.
She spun back to me, still grinning, eyes wide with performative awe.
Okay, big squid. Chat wants to know if he's, scary in person or just lore. Should I duel him? Should I do the spooky axe dance? Or should we collab on a thirst trap first?
I considered eating the phone. Not her, just the phone. Let the algorithm choke to death on its own feedback loop. The souls shifted uneasily, muttering among themselves, trying to parse whether their eternity now depended on emojis. One voice rose above the rest. Not a Viking this time, but a gaunt man in threadbare modern clothes, eyes shadowed with exhaustion. I fought cancer, he said, clutching the strap of his ghostly hospital gown like it was armor. Worked double shifts to care for my mother. When I collapsed, they told me Freya might take me. Folkvanger, maybe. Is that still true? For a moment, even the other souls fell silent. His words lingered in the air with more weight than all the swords and shields combined. The Valkyrie tilted her head, phone already back in selfie mode.
Okay, chat, big question. Folkvanger or nah? Do we vibe check the martyr points or is that, too off-brand?
Her crystal ball flickered, signal dropping into static. The chat froze. No votes, no emojis, nothing. She frowned for half a heartbeat, then brightened again.
Weird. Anyway, so what do you guys think? Should I do the spooky axe dance collab with Cthulhu or a prank sent to Helheim montage?
The U-Haul rattled like a dying beast and then gave up entirely, rolling to a pitiful stop in the middle of the Bifröst. Sparks shot out beneath the tires, hissing against the rainbow bridge like frying oil. The dashboard flashed with runes and warning glyphs, each one competing for my attention in a dozen extinct alphabets. The steering column buzzed as though mocking me for daring to believe that divine suspension could survive one trip across Yggdrasil. For a moment, silence. Then a low metallic thunk echoed from the empty cargo bay. Another rattle, followed by a very mortal sounding
Ow! Okay, wow! That definitely clipped my ribs.
The Valkyrie spun toward the back, eyes wide, her phone instinctively tilting to capture the sound.
Dad, is that you?
The rear door creaked open, and out stumbled Thor, brushing rainbow dust from his tunic, and looking more like a man crawling out of a hayloft than a god of thunder. Mjolnir swung lazily at his side, as if even it couldn't be bothered to take things seriously. He gave us his trademark sheepish grin, the one that had felled more giants than lightning ever did.
Yeah, hey, surprise.
He said, wincing as he rubbed his ribs.
Thought I'd tag along. You know, keep an eye on things. Field trips can be dangerous.
I twisted in my seat, my tentacles flexing against the wheel. You've been hiding in the back of a U-Haul, like a forgotten suitcase. Thor gave the truck a friendly pat.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. Honestly, I was just trying to be helpful. Looks like you blew a tire, no big deal. We'll get it swapped out.
Thor popped open the back doors, got out, and crouched beside the wheel well, peering at the sagging rim with the same concern one might give a sagging birthday balloon. The Valkyrie squealed, spinning her phone toward him like she'd just unearthed a celebrity cameos.
Chat, Dad literally stowed away. He's like quality control for Valhalla vibes. This is so iconic.
Thor adjusted his tunic, still rubbing his ribs where the suitcase had introduced itself.
Iconic, huh? Yeah, sure, we'll call it that, but hey, look at this. Perfect chance to learn something. Sweetie, want to help me change the tire? Good skill to have. Never know when you'll need it.
She wrinkled her nose.
Ugh, Dad, don't make this into like a family car tutorial. Chat doesn't want to see me wrestle lug nuts. They want content.
Well, I said dryly, at least there's another adult god present now. Maybe the 9 realms won't be entirely run by a teenager after all. The Valkyrie shot me a glare, foam still rolling.
Chat says I'm more mature than like most gods anyway. Rune smash if you agree.
Thor chuckled, completely unfazed.
Yeah, wow, you both make good points, but hey, teamwork, right? Nothing wrong with a little extra backup. This is content, real stuff. You gotta keep it grounded. Viral clips are fun, but knowing how to swap a tire, that's the kind of empowerment that lasts.
I slapped the dashboard with a tentacle. Or we could skip this mechanical pantomime entirely. I could simply fly us to the next realm. No tires, no delays, no rainbow fumes choking us into oblivion. Thor straightened, giving me a genial shake of his head.
Yeah, that's very tempting, and in the old days, you know, absolutely. But Yog-Sothoth was super clear on that. Said it'd be, bad optics. Viewers don't want to see a shortcut. They want to see the grind. They want the road trip. I know it's very... Why didn't Frodo just take an eagle to Mount Doom? But yeah, rules are rules.
He leaned in conspiratorially, as if Yog's memos were state secrets.
Apparently flying is alienating, makes people feel like you're skipping steps.
Oh, for the love of unholy croissants. I glared through the rear-view mirror. I am an alien with wings. That's the point. Thor shrugged. Easy as a summer breeze.
Yeah, but it doesn't play well on MySpace or...
It's called Twitch, Dad.
Gotcha, my bad. Anyway, trust me, buddy, gotta respect the contract.
The Valkyrie giggled, already pointing her phone at me.
Chat, did you hear that? Yog banned Cthulhu from flying because it's cringe content. Smash that rune if you think he'd look funny with little airline wings.
Thor squatted beside the deflated tire, clapping his hands together like a coach at practice.
All right, sweetie, here's how we start. First, we get the jack out. It's under the panel. Want to grab it?
She rolled her eyes dramatically but scampered to the rear. Phones are still live.
Okay, chat, I guess we're doing like DIY Valhalla edition. Dad wants me to learn tire stuff. Drop an emoji if you think this is giving minivan energy.
I massaged my forehead with one tentacle. We are literally stranded on a rainbow bridge that holds up 9 realms, and you're treating this like a driver's ed video. Thor gave me a reassuring smile, the kind reserved for calming horses and irritated squints.
Hey, you gotta start somewhere. Every hero journey's got a flat tire moment. Builds patience, builds character.
She eyed the jack with a sigh.
Yeah, I know how this works, but chat doesn't want to see me crank metal. They want to see content. Like, should I do a tire change dance trend?
Thor beamed.
See? She knows the steps already. Wow, just thinking outside the box. Amazing.
She groaned dramatically for her audience, but willingly got out of the U-Haul and crouched near the tire anyway. She fumbled with the jack as Thor guided her hand. The other hand gripped on her phone like it was an extension of her biology. It wobbled dangerously close to slipping from her grip. I leaned out the window. This is absurd. She's live streaming her incompetence to the cosmos, and you're applauding like she's slaying a troll.
Hey, she's trying.
Thor said warmly, giving her shoulder a pat.
And trying counts.
The Valkyrie pretended to strain, then squealed dramatically as the jack lifted the truck an inch.
OMG. Chat, did you see that? I literally raised a moving van with my bare hands.
Thor beamed with pride, as if she'd summoned lightning.
Yeah, wow, that's it. Look at that strength. Told you she's got potential.
The Valkyrie twirled the wrench like it was a magic staff, phone angled high to catch her triumph.
Chat, did you see that? I literally saved the 9 realms with my bare hands.
Thor beamed as if she'd invented thunder itself.
Yeah, wow, that's it. Incredible work. You've got real strength.
But before he could launch into more encouragement, she tilted the phone toward him with faux solemnity.
Okay, Dad, chat's asking something serious now. They want to know, how do you feel about Baldur's death?
The air went still. Even the Rainbow Bridge seemed to hesitate beneath us. Thor's easy smile faltered, the warmth dimming from his eye.
Sweetie,
He said slowly,
that's not really a stream question. That was my brother, my family. It's not entertainment.
She blinked innocently, keeping the lens trained on him.
But chat's like blowing up. They want raw emotion. It'll trend.
Thor looked down at the tightened lug nuts, fingers brushing the rim as though steadying himself.
So,
His voice dropped, softer, heavier.
Baldur's death still hurts, and it always will. And, you know, I think, what am I trying to say here? Some things aren't for show, sweetie. They're heavier than the feed.
For a heartbeat, he let it hang there, honest or unguarded. Then the Valkyrie swung back to camera, grin snapping back into place.
OMG, chat, did you hear that? Grief isn't a soundbite. Clip it. Rune smash if you felt that in your soul.
Thor flinched almost imperceptibly, then turned his face just enough for me to see it. His eyes caught mine, a flash of pain, raw and pleading as though asking me to pull her gaze away because he could not. I sighed through gills older than memory. All right, enough amateur necropsychology, I drawled. If chat wants raw emotion, let them react to the tire pressure. That's tragedy enough. The Valkyrie blinked, then laughed, delighted by the pivot.
Oh my goodness, chat, did you hear that? He said, tire pressure is tragedy. Rune smash if you think that's iconic eldritch banter.
Her feed flooded again with emojis and digital applause. She was happy. Thor looked relieved. And me, I went back to gripping the wheel, muttering inwardly about how the sagas had finally been reduced to sound bites and side quests. Thor winced but patted her shoulder, slipping back into his indulgent cadence.
Yeah, poetic. You've got a good way of putting things, kiddo.
I let out a hiss between my teeth. The death of Baldur flattened into a highlight reel. Truly, the sagas have found their natural end. Thor gave me a look, somewhere between apology and resignation, before turning back to his daughter with a bright, forced cheer.
Anyway, amazing job on the tire, sweetie. Couldn't have done it without you.
She squealed, basking in the double victory, a fixed van and a trending clip, while the Bifröst groaned beneath us like a bridge praying for collapse. The U-Haul maintained a low resonant hum as it moved across the Bifröst, each seam of light beneath the tires reverberating like an arrhythmic pulse. Thor folded into the passenger seat with arms crossed and chin sunk against his chest, exhaled, in the soft cadence of a storm deferred rather than summoned. For once, the Valkyrie's crystal ball phone remained dormant in her lap. No runes scrolled, no hearts cascaded, no echo chamber of commentary to fill the silence. Only the infinite radiance of the bridge unfurling ahead. You notice, I began, gaze fixed on the spectral road. how the world feels less suffocating when it isn't reflected back at us every second. Her hand twitched upward, reflexively reaching for the device. A tentacle of mine intercepted, pressing it gently back to her lap. "Indulge me," I said. "Leave the yap machine quiet for a moment." She smirked, but the gesture was hollow.
You're really calling my stream a yap machine?
It is precisely that, an endless open mouth. Its noise isn't your fault, but you aren't obligated to nourish it constantly. She hesitated, then let the glass rest. The Bifröst seemed to breathe around us, color shifting from carnival fluorescence to something older, sedimentary, almost geological in its gravity.
Ugh, fine. I'm not married to it, you know.
She pouted, eyes on the shifting horizon.
But don't forget, I've got 1,000,000 followers. It's not that simple when money is tied to every rune and click. 1 minute, though. Impress me.
I gave a dry, dismissive laugh, but somehow her nonsense was more enjoyable than whatever Yong So-Dot focused on. 1,000,000 mouths to feed with hashtags, and you expect to have time left to be a true Valkyrie? She folded her arms in defense.
Those mouths keep me alive. Streams pay for armor, for gear, for everything. You think Asgard has a stipend?
I gave her a sidelong glance. Are you joking? You live in Thor's hall, fed by divine kitchens, protected by one of the loudest gods in circulation. If this is poverty, then Midgard orphans would like to subscribe to your suffering. She scowled like an unpaid mortgage bill.
You don't get it! Just because I'm not starving doesn't mean I'm not fighting. If I want armor that fits, or a weapon that isn't cracked, or literally anything that's mine and not community property, I have to pay for it myself. That's what the streams are for.
Ah, okay, I said. So it's not survival. It's branding. You want your own label stitched on the shield. She rolled her eyes hard enough to rattle the window.
Okay, Boomer Squid. Sorry I don't want to spend my life in hand-me-downs that smell like berserker sweat.
Privilege dressed as grievance, I observed.
Yeah, well,
She shot back.
try being the only Valkyrie who still has to justify herself every 5 seconds. You'd stream too.
Thor snored in the back like thunder applauding the argument. Carrying warriors and weighing souls doesn't leave room for sponsored reels, I said. The real work isn't glamorous, and it doesn't trend. Her eyes flicked toward the phone again, then back to me.
Maybe not, but I can't ignore 1,000,000 voices.
And yet, I replied, you'll need to decide one day whether those voices matter more than the one voice that will prove you, Valkyrie, in truth, your own. The truck rattled over Yggdrasil's roots. Thor was out cold in the back, snoring like a washing machine full of hammers. She had her phone down, for once, tracing circles on the case with her thumb.
So, can I ask you something? Like, serious, not content serious.
I gave a non-committal grunt, which in my register could collapse a mountain.
They tell us you want to break out of your sunken prison, rise up with your squid buddies, and either eat the planet or make us worship you while you redecorate reality, that you're the big bad final boss of existence. Is that, like, the plan? Because that's what Odin tells everyone. Fear the calamari, they only want your lunch money forever.
Thor stirred, half awake, and rumbled,
He's not so bad, it's Madeline you have to watch out for.
then snored again, like punctuation. She smirked faintly.
Yeah, Thor's the only one who actually says that out loud. The rest? They act like even mentioning you is gonna summon a tentacle through the floor.
She looked over at me.
So, is it true? The whole destroy everything vibe?
I flexed the wheel, the metal whining under my grip. What I want is continuity of records. That the things which existed remain legible after their dust is gone. The old ones were never conquerors. We were custodians. But to mortals, scale looks like hunger. Archiving looks like domination. And fear. Fear is always the simplest headline. She scratched her head, skeptical but curious.
So, the horror stories are just PR spin? Great. Gods and their focus groups.
Humanity does a great job of demonizing things that aren't human. Their stories make anything non-human existentially offensive. I lectured while trying not to tangle the wheel with multiple tentacles. They are incomplete. Fear is what they remembered. Preservation is what they forgot. She gave a low whistle.
Okay, I'll admit, that's not the worst answer I expected.
She fiddled with the phone again, but didn't lift it.
Still, try putting that in a TikTok without sounding like a manifesto.
Thor snored louder, mercifully drowning the silence. The van carried us forward in rare companionship. Silence filling the spaces usually occupied by quips and commentary. The bridge narrowed fractionally, its contraction imperceptible unless one knew how to listen. A chill threaded through a gap in the door seal, as sharp and clean as glacial water. I believe it's my turn to ask the questions. How long have you been performing, Valkyrie? I asked. She slouched into the passenger seat, fiddling with a strap on her armor.
As long as I can remember. Or, more accurately, since Thor decided I was his problem. He said I had heart, which sounded better than orphan, so I went with it.
That word, stray, is a mortal euphemism, I said. A polite veneer for abandonment. She huffed, breath fogging the glass. She traced a crooked wing into the condensation, then wiped it away with her palm.
I wanted to be Sigrun, or at least the version people pretend to remember. Her name drops and suddenly even the cockiest Einherjar shut up. I used to put on helmets in the armory and wait for that silence to happen to me. Spoiler, it didn't. The only hush I ever get is when my stream crashes.
You envy the gravity of quiet, I observed. The authority of those who command without demanding.
Exactly. Isn't that absurd? I can summon 1,000,000 voices in seconds, and all I want is the pause. Just once. No commentary, no likes, no emojis, just pause.
I adjusted the wheel, several croissants shifting in my pocket. She noticed.
Do you seriously keep pastries in there?
She asked, incredulous.
Like, pocket croissants. That's deranged.
It's deranged, I countered, to wear a helmet with one wing, as though you're broadcasting a mating call to Sephiroth. She snorted, half laughing despite herself.
Okay, that's fair. But at least Sephiroth got dramatic music. You just get flaky crumbs.
And additionally, I adjusted the wheel, several croissants shifting in my pocket. It is furthermore not deranged, I replied, with full weight of a Gordon Ramsay argument brewing in my eldritch blood. Croissants are the most dignified form of portable sustenance ever devised. They are architecture you can eat, golden ramparts of butter, engineered to flake at precise angles. Mortals build cathedrals for less structural brilliance. To dismiss them as mere pocket food is culinary blasphemy. She tried to look serious and then let out a genuine laugh, warm and unperformed.
God, you actually mean that. You're defending pastry like it's a dying empire.
Empires fall, I said. Croissants endure. You'd like croissant Shan. Her brow furrowed.
You actually named someone that? Croissant Shan, you're deranged.
She named herself, I snapped, with the same conviction one might declare a dynasty. There were witnesses, ballads, a very unfortunate souffle. She leaned back, grinning.
No way. That's not a name, that's a snack. You can't convince me otherwise.
I tightened my grip on the wheel. Sigrun would understand. Her eyebrows shot up.
You're seriously dragging Sigrun into this. The most feared Valkyrie in the sagas? You're saying she'd nod along with Croissant Shan?
Precisely, I said, warming to the argument. Names are crests, banners, announcements of what one chooses to be in the world. For Sigrun, silence was the crest. For Croissant Chan, pastry, a declaration no less legitimate than a raven on a shield or a wolf on a banner. She laughed outright, the kind that filled the cab and had nothing to do with followers.
That's the weakest reach I've ever heard. You're defending breakfast food like it's heraldry.
It is heraldry, I insisted. Buttery heraldry. Laminated dough as lineage. If you sneer at an entire noble house. Her laughter softened into something warmer.
You're insane. Completely, gloriously insane.
The bridge's hues began to fade into glacier blues. Runic warnings scrolled across the dash in alphabets that died before humanity had fire. She ignored them. Thor murmured in his sleep, his snore a thundercloud far off over the sea. I know what I look like, she said finally. A cosplayer with a costume in one hand and a selfie stick in the other. You also have the attention span of a fruit fly, I agreed sagely. Today, but tomorrow is not obliged to repeat the performance. Her hands tightened on the gauntlet seam.
I tell myself I'm giving the dead a voice. But then I stare at the metrics and wonder, am I ferrying them, or am I just propping myself up on their shoulders?
That, I said, is the first honest question you've asked yourself. Keep asking it. We rolled through a gust that shoved the van sideways. The bridge keened beneath the tires, a high, cold note. I corrected the wheel. She pretended not to notice. What did you want before Thor? I asked.
I don't remember before Thor,
She said.
Just people deciding I was useful, training, posting, then the noise. She tapped the dead phone, the gesture automatic. When that many people cheer for you, it's addictive. Then you're in a room with nothing but your own breathing, and it feels like you messed up somehow.
You didn't mess up, I said. You just noticed the silence. The real question is whether you can live with it. She gave me a look, more defensive than mocking.
That's such a setup.
It's a question. You can pass, but it will stay with you. She hesitated, shoulders tight.
Okay, so some days, yeah, when a soul actually looks relieved to see me, when Thor tells me I did well, when training with the others feels like what it's supposed to be. Strength, unity, that old hush the sagas talked about. Other days...
She let out a short laugh with no humor in it.
Other days it feels like I'm selling a knockoff version of what the Valkyries were. And the worst part? I miss the old system I never even got to have, which makes me feel guilty, like I'm betraying them just by existing in this.
The truck rattled, Thor snoring behind us like thunder gone lazy. Then stopped betraying them, I said. She shook her head, lips pressed thin.
If only it worked like that.
It does. Simple doesn't mean easy. She leaned against the window, voice small. She groaned.
Stop! You're starting to sound like Odin. We're not in a classroom, and life doesn't come with a report card.
One claw tapped the dashboard in irritation, leaving shallow grooves. Odin hands out slogans. I hand out reality. And reality does in fact come with grading. I realized this when a certain Hindu goddess graded my karma. You fail to adapt. You repeat the lesson. Forever. She cracked a smile despite herself.
You really are impossible.
Yes, I said, but unlike my boss, I don't make you sit through PowerPoint. Thor snored louder in the back. as if applauding the point. The bridge split ahead, 2 lanes converging, a third peeling away like scar tissue. A luminous signpost shimmered above, its runes declaring what any responsible traveler would see. Vanaheim left, Alfheim right, and the third inscribed with a word older than refusal. Don't. She didn't look. I adjusted left. The wheel resisted, pulling right. The temperature dropped. White veins spread through the Rainbow Road. The dash beeped in a tongue no one dares to pray in. The right lane gleamed like ice under moonlight. The Bifröst ended where no bridge should end. The U-Haul swerved and barreled towards its abyssal end where a harsh winter bit as tough as the oppression of Ragnarok. Tires shrieking as if dragged across glass that became ice. And I felt the wheel twist free of my command. My limbs grew heavy, a creeping paralysis smothering my reach. Losing control. Not good, I said aloud, drowsy and furious all at once. The cab lurching into white silence. From the passenger seat she gasped, clutching the door, eyes wide. The road returned beneath frost. Veins of ice crawled across the windshield, and the wheel dragged like a beast on a chain. I clamped it with both hands, then sent a tentacle curling after. The leather slid free, slick as oil. I reached inward, grasping for the power that once bent oceans, and found it sluggish, leaden, as though raised underwater. In my frustration, I cast further, a thought, a signal. A summons along the hidden corridors where Yog-Sothoth waits. Nothing. The gatekeeper did not answer. No, he could not answer. Even the angles were asleep. The collision course off the Bifrost was inevitable now. I could hear the Valkyrie panic and ask what's happening. Jotunheim, I told her through my fleeting consciousness. Sleep magic runs thick here. Even gods drown in it. It's an old trick. From the back, Thor heaved himself up. Eyes half closed, snow in his voice.
It's their go-to trick. Giants hum the air till you're nodding off, seen it 100 times and...
He tried for reassurance, a lopsided grin.
But hey, Valkyries don't tip over. Guess what? You're the only one still standing.
Her voice cracked.
So, you're both...
Yeah, afraid so.
Thor breathed, already fading.
We'll nap. You stay awake. Listen, sweetie, it's gonna be okay. Just call Freya, call Odin. They'll hear. Nothing bad is gonna happen.
She turned toward him, voice breaking. She embraced Thor, asked him not to leave her alone. His smile was faint, almost apologetic, eyes heavy with frost. He attempted to return the hug, but his arms were heavier than the knowledge of Odin.
I know, kid, but you've gotta hold on. Just hold on until I wake.
His lids fell, the spell binding him like chains. I slid from the seat, sprawling against the cold floor, vision narrowing. If they do not answer, use his hammer. Her eyes went wide.
That's... No, I'm not worthy.
My limbs felt stone heavy, words draining like sand from a broken hourglass. Worthiness is rarely consulted, I rasped. Then the spell dragged me under. Thor's hammer slid from his fingers. My sight bled gray at the edges. The spell tightened. Only she remained awake, trembling in the cab, staring at the thing that should not walk. From the fog stepped a giant blue-gray, shoulders broad as fortresses, its head gone, severed long ago in some forgotten war with Asgard. The wound was smooth as frozen glass. It made horrible sounds from its festering wound as if its neck was a mouth in mourning. The advent of war pressed on us all heavier than stone. Thor slumped in the back, hammer lying at his side. She climbed out, sword in hand, and nearly dropped it. Her knees shook. Her breath came sharp and ragged. I can't, she said under her breath. But to whom? Even she did not know. The headless colossus advanced. Each step was a question. Are you Valkyrie, or orphan pretending? She snatched up her sword, and the lie of it nearly broke her. The hilt was smooth from handling, the blade sharp enough for show, but she knew it was theater. A prop she had once flourished into a camera, waiting for comments to roll in. Against the giant's hide, it was cardboard in a storm. The ground lurched. Her phone slipped free, tumbling from the cab into the snow. Its red light blinked once, twice, then vanished under the white, her last tether to the audience. Gone. She froze, staring at the empty space where it had fallen. That's it. That's all it takes to cut me off. A shake of the ground and I disappear. The thought churned, sour and sharp. For the first time in years, she wasn't live, wasn't heard, wasn't measured by clicks and comments. She had been off her phone for minutes now, maybe longer. Her chest tightened. It was the longest she'd gone since she was 13. Her throat burned. I don't know what I'm doing, she said to the snow. I've been pretending. Pretending the clips meant I was strong. Pretending Thor's nods made me chosen. Pretending Sigrun's silence meant approval. She wiped her face with the back of her hand, breath frosting in the air. The giant shadow rode over her. She looked up, shoulders trembling, and forced the words out. I could hear her in the well of my sleep call out to Sigrun. She made a prayer and asked if she's watching to grant her strength. The hammer stirred. Mjolnir quivered where it lay, as if the name had rippled through it. The frost giant's next step cracked the ice, but the sound was drowned out by a low hum, ancient and patient, calling her hands forward. Mjolnir quivered, once, twice. Then it hurled itself forward like a hawk diving. She caught her reflection in the polished metal, a frightened girl staring back with the power of the gods acknowledging her will. For a heartbeat she almost spoke to it, lips shaping the old word she barely remembered from training. The hammer aligned with her grip like an extension of her body, heavier than she could bear. Yet it did not crush her. It allowed her. She staggered, wide-eyed.
Thanks, Dad.
The colossus brought down its fist, vast as a whole room. She lifted Mjolnir, arms trembling, certain it would crush her. Instead, the hammer answered. Lightning leapt from its runes, cracking through the silence. The giant's blow shuddered, sparks and frost colliding in a storm of light. For the first time, the creature faltered. She staggered forward, half dragged by the hammer's weight, half carried by it. Her body moved as though she had trained for centuries, every swing precise, every pivot purposeful. Yet her mind reeled in disbelief. Is this how Thor felt in battle? Like the storm had chosen him, not the other way around. The giant struck again, its hand sweeping wide as a roof beam. She raised Mjolnir with a cry, and the hammer answered with thunder that tore across the frozen ground. The shockwave split the ice beneath them, veins of white cracking into a vast chasm. The colossus stumbled, one knee plunging into the fissure. She pressed the attack, screaming with effort, her arms straining as arcs of lightning coiled around her. Each swing felt less like choice and more like command. Mjolnir demanding, her body obeying. She was not wielding it. She was surviving its momentum. With one final strike, she brought it down on the giant's shoulder. The air split. Lightning poured into the wound at its neck. The glow blinding. The giant reeled, its form staggering backward into the mist, silence reclaiming it. Her strength broke. She dropped to her knees, chest heaving, the hammer slipping from her grip. It rolled away across the ice, humming low before settling at Thor's side as though it had never left him. Her hands were blistered, her fingers raw but unbroken. The giant lingered one heartbeat longer, its headless wound gleaming pale. Then it turned, deliberate as a glacier, and began eroding with the winter storm. The spell lifted instantly as if waking from a deep slumber. Thor groaned, reacquainting himself with his body slapped to the ground in odd positions. My eyes opened to frost, ruin, and a truck buried nose first in the snow. My stash of croissants were everywhere, possibly the worst part of this event. And there she stood, helmet crooked, arms shaking, eyes wide, but alive. Unseen, the foam blinked in the snow, streaming every moment. The world watching a girl tremble, falter, scream and rise to the challenge. She stood panting, ready to swing again, when the impossible happened. From the wound came a voice, low, resonant, like glaciers grinding.
Valkyrie.
It rumbled, the sound shivering through her bones.
Felled is my frame. Ice for my pillow. No pyre was given. No song was sung. Valkyrie, bear me. Bind me to memory. Carry my name where silence fails.
She responded with her own words that she would, and in that moment she was keenly aware the decision came from her, and it confounded her that she had been using her followers to dictate her life choices for years. The fallen giant was real, and not a raid boss collapsing in pixels. This was the weight of death, raw and unfiltered, demanding her duty. For the first time, she felt it settle on her shoulders in abundance. Not a title for show, not a clip to upload, but the obligation of remembrance. She turned back to us, and to me, for the first time. She looked every inch of Valkyrie. The giant attempted a bow as it bled out in the tundra, slow, stiff, but bowing still, before its form dissolved into the mist. So yes, she did as instructed, called Freya, called Odin, delivered the whole account in one breath while still shaking snow out of her hair. And then, and I nearly applauded, she told them they were cheapening the dead by involving social media in their precious Valkyrie branding. She informed the All-Father and his golden favorite that sometimes progress is just another word for neglect. And the shocking part, they listened. No thunderbolts, no banishment, just silence, which in Asgard is the sound of someone realizing they've been out-argued by a teenager. This is better than your average anime isekai. Since then, she stopped posing for streams, started training like Sigmund instead, the way Valkyries once did before hashtags became their shield maidens. Perhaps she'll be queen one day, or perhaps she'll simply be herself. Either way, the dead will get their honors without a sponsorship deal stapled to the pyre. The kind that make even me, Cthulhu, contemplate the tiniest crumb of hope. But don't tell anyone. My reputation relies on despair. Anyway, my work is complete, which is why you now find me here, reclining on a beach, martini in one tentacle, sunglasses balanced on a face not designed for them. I informed young Solthoth that I would not be attending the next meeting of Cosmic Gatekeepers on account of administrative burnout. He sputtered, of course, all angles and indignation, but I suggested, in terms both blunt and unprintable, that he go. Thus, I take my leisure. The multiverse smolders, gods bicker, giants wander headless into the fog, and I sip something with too much sugar in it, filing this incident under rare victories. And yes, this is Tahiti, a magical place.